Knight endings are pawn endings, Botvinnik apparently once said. The position you've got in front of you is a pawn ending. It's a composition by Reti from 1921, and I feature it on a video called The Reti Idea, unsurprisingly. But Reti didn't just have one idea. He came back 8 years later amongst many other ideas with this idea, which is a white to play and win position in a knight ending. Have a go at it. This is a brilliant composition. Pause the video and try and get a win here as white. The first thing you notice is that if you push the a pawn, the black knight, the black knight can come in and basically pre-move knight takes a7. So that's no good. If you start moving your knight around the board, that's not going to help. The black king and the knight are easily going to be able to take care of this pawn. In fact, that's all black needs to do, is take care of that pawn. The most obvious first move that suggests itself is king b8. Just get the king out of the way of the pawn that needs pushing to victory. Okay. But black plays this king b5 move, attacking your pawn. And you can't push the pawn because knight c6 check would pick it up. It's a fork. Defending the pawn with king a7, bit of a waste of time. You might start wondering why you didn't play that move last go. But you have actually got this incredibly good knight b4 defense. Sneaky, because if black takes that knight, then you play king c7 and the pawn's going to promote. Okay, so the knight can't be taken. And if black just plays king a5, just to sort of stay in touch with the a7 pawn, the a6 pawn, sorry, just giving it away, the pawn becomes an a7 pawn, and our knight is defending the square that you wanted to come in and fork, the king and the pawn. So you can't play king a5. So you think, well, that's it. That's how we solve this. But unfortunately not. Black's got this incredibly good knight c6 check defense. I mean, obviously, if we take the knight, then black just takes the pawn. So what are you doing about this? Where are you going to put your king? And you've got to come in and attack this knight. If you don't attack this knight with your king now, black will just play king takes b4, and this knight's guarding the a7 square. So you've got to attack that knight. You have two choices. One is king b7, knight a5 check, king c7, knight back to c6. White has no way to make progress. And they can come back to b7, check, there, back to b7. I think that's already a perpetual as it happens. But if I get the computer just ended that as a perpetual. Let's get back to this position. White can't do anything because they can't move the knight because you take the pawn, and if you play king d6, king b6, we're easily going to defend that from there. That's a draw. So we can't play king b7. All right, I'll play king c7. That's no good because we just take the knight. If the pawn gets pushed, check, and this knight's coming to b6, where it will permanently guard the a8 square. So basically, king b8 doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So you think, okay, what can we do instead? Well, the solution is king a7. And black might be thinking, well, what's so good about this? I'll just still come in king b5. What's the problem? You still defend your a pawn, knight b4. And again, black's like, well, all right, I'm still going to do the same trick. I'll just still maintain contact with your a pawn, king a5. But then you play king b8. Absolutely brilliant. And black's like, well, remember I've got this trick. I'm going to fork your king and knight. That was my trick for dealing with that. Makes no difference to me whether I do it with my king's on a5 or my king's on b5. You know, for example, if you come and attack my knight now with king c7, I've still got this. Draw. But white says, yeah, but if I play king b7 now, before when your king was on b5, you had a perpetual with knight a5 and back to c6. You've just taken away the a5 square with your king. So black's stuffed. There's nothing they can do. I mean, they can't just defend the knight because white just takes it. They're defending their a6 pawn now with their king. So they try knight d8 check, king c7, knight e6, king b8, and it's over. Absolutely brilliant. You do play king b8, sort of, but you play king a7, king b5, knight b4, king a5. You force the black king to a5 where it doesn't want to be, blocking its own knight in one of black's defences, and then play king b8. How about that from Mr. Reti? 1929, that's 96 years old. 96 years ago, some guy came up with that puzzle, which I very much enjoyed today and hope you did too. Right, next, this is a game from 1978. So, whilst I was being born, two very good chess players were playing this game. Pause the video and decide what you'd do as white. And when I'm getting these positions, I'm looking for positions in a book and saying, "Oh, it's white to play here. What happens, or when black to play? Find the winning move, that sort of stuff." You do, hopefully if I find a winning move in a position like that, and here, for example, the winning move is knight takes c5 ! I mean, that's great. I was given this position as a white to play and win, and I found knight takes c5. But what goes through my head every single time I see a position like that, white to play and win, and you find the winning move, is like, yeah, that's great. But when I'm playing a game of chess, I don't have like a little elf coming in and saying, you do know it's white to play and win in this position. And so, when I miss tactics over the board, or I miss a crushing idea, and I sort of berate myself and I wonder why did I miss it? It's that, isn't it, that we need to access as chess players? Because I think the top players sense it. I think they know something's around the corner here. I think we all do a little bit, I've heard myself saying, there must be something here in a position. You just sort of sense that all your pieces are lined up. There must be some sort of brilliant sacrifice or something, and sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. But a lot of the time I just miss it. I could see myself playing a game like this, not suspecting in the slightest. It's quite a hard one to see, isn't it? Like, the black pawn structure looks pretty solid. There's two different pawns guarding this b4 push. Would you really think to sacrifice a knight and break through? I mean, once you do, maybe you'd find knight takes c5. But that's the key, isn't it? How do you find a way to tell yourself it's white to play and win? Anyway, knight takes a5, for example, would transpose if black takes it back. If black takes the sacrificed knight. But actually, black's got a perfectly okay draw here by ignoring it. Every time you play a brilliant piece sacrifice, by the way, it's like, aha, knight takes a5, and you can't take my knight because blah, 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 as we're about to see. And black's like, well, I don't have to take your knight. I can still draw the game like this. So it's worth bearing in mind every time you sacrifice anything. Oh yeah, and the white knight can just sort of get round. The black knight's going to sit quite happily on d7, king f3, knight d3. Black's going to draw that quite happily. So, not knight takes a5, but instead knight takes c5. I mean, black has to take that. You can see that, this is incoming. This is just going to be suicide for black not to take that. And then b4. And now let's go through the various options. So we might see knight d7. Black just says, whatever, I'm not going to react to that. Like, okay, I'll take on a5. King f2, clearing the way for the pawn. And then we see something similar to what I'd call the main line, or the line in the game, that is. Queen, e2. How do you stop that pawn? Because there's no checks. Like the knight's covering the f8 square. It's like, we don't bother stopping that pawn. Just swap the queens and go again. These two are going to queen against this knight without the help of their king. So not doing nothing. Black can't do nothing. They can't ignore it. What if they tried to ignore it with e4? You just take on c5. Okay, clear the path for the e pawn. We're going to see something pretty similar to before. Queen, and that's just gone. Okay, and this is a fantastic pawn structure. In a minute, after the queen, and we're going to take this. That queen ending is completely won. You'll see in the game that we had something similar to this, but Black had a better pawn structure. So if it doesn't work in the game, it's not going to work here, where they've only got one pawn left, and this pawn here is about to promote. So not e4. What about let's try c takes b4, c5. And what about a slightly different defense to just shifting the king and bringing the e-pawn forward? What if they try b3 check, trying to get in with defending things for the knight? You just play king c4, and it's just completely gone. So not c takes b4, and then finally, what about a takes b4? Well, then you push the a-pawn. Black pushes the e-pawn, king out of the way, and we see something that's similar to what we've already seen. This is what actually happened in the game. Queen f8, e1 queen, queen takes f6 check. And there wasn't really a way to swap the queens by force, but white played this queen d2 move, and this passed d pawn on d6. It sort of won the day. Queen a1, d7, and the book tells me the game went like this, and Lichess tells me that the game went queen a2 check, but they're both sort of similar. Queen a4 check, king to b1, queen b3 check, king c1, queen a3, king d1, and eventually the checks sort of run out. Black plays this move, queen g4, king g4, very, very sneaky, because if d8 equals queen, Black's got a perpetual. There's no way to avoid all of those checks. So don't play d8 equals queen. Instead, in the game, queen d1 was played. Really, really clever move. It's one way to stop the next check. Is to line your queen and king up with your opponent's king. Because now it guarantees that the other side can't have another two checks. They got one more, sure. But the point is whatever that check is, in this case collecting the c4 pawn, our next move back is check. So watch out for that in queen and pawn ending. It's a nice little trick. It's a very powerful thing to employ. Sort of stops your opponent putting you in check a little bit and dries up their run of checks. So yeah, like I say, and that's the way that Dvoretsky said the game ended. I've got on the database that it went like this. Instead of queen a4, it went like this. But you can see it's incredibly similar. That has transposed now to this. And then Black resigned. So that was a 1978 game. Knight endings are pawn endings. Breakthrough. That's what that was. What about this one? This is from 1976. Black to play. Pause the video and decide what you'd do. Kapow. How about that for a thunderbolt move? Wow. Yeah, what a brilliant move. Knight sacrifice, obviously. And again, any sacrifice is all very well saying, oh, I'm going to put my knight here and you can't take it because of this, that and the other. What if the other side just says, well, I'm not going to take it. I don't have to take your sacrifice piece. Well, good luck with that here. This knight, which is kind of the key to the whole breakthrough, doesn't have any squares. And it can't be defended. So you're coming in and attacking White's knight. White has no choice. but to take that sacrifice knight. And taking it with a knight is obviously very silly. That pawn, that had to be dealt with, by the way. That had to be dealt with. And then a4. And the white king is not in the square of the a-pawn. That's just gone. So after knight c3, white has to play b takes c3. Then black plays a4 anyway. And it's just over. The knight has no way into the game. Can't go to any of those free squares. It can go to its dumb square. But, you know, clues in the name, that's the knight's dumb square. So, this pawn's coming through. And we can swap off. But this pawn's coming through. In the game, white tried this. C takes d4, c takes d4, still stopping the knight from going anywhere. So the only way the knight can come into the game is via its dumb square. White tried this, I suppose desperately hoping black might take it. But of course black's not going to take that. They're going to play a3. And white resigned. Knight endings are pawn endings. Breakthrough. Right, try this one. This is a game from 1980. It's white to play. Pause the video and decide what you'll do. This one isn't any sort of like fireworks with sacrificing pieces. The last two positions have been knight sacrifices in a knight ending to create a pawn breakthrough. This one's not, but it is an idea from king and pawn endings. Knight endings are pawn endings. Let's have a look. If we just push the a pawn, then black plays king d6. Nice central square for the black king. a6, what's the problem? Well, your problem's that. Knight e5. If you push the a pawn, the black knight's going to come in and check and win it. And in fact, white would have to be careful to hold on to drawing that. I mean, it is a draw, but they'd have to be careful. And if they don't push the pawn, knight c6 anyway. So you can see that black's just fine there. So what you need to do instead is shoulder the black king away from the d6 square. That black king just can't get in. So how's black stopping this pawn? They're just not. You're shouldering the king out of the position. Like I said, it wasn't anything particularly remarkable. It wasn't fireworks, but it is knight endings are pawn endings. Shouldering still an important theme. I mean, let's say black tries knight e5. We can push the a pawn. Well, they could do knight d7 check, I suppose. But you just play king c6. You don't have to take that knight, and it's over. So the only thing they can really do is push the f pawn and try and beat you in a race. They're obviously losing the race. You do have to be a bit careful here, though. If you just carry on with the race, I say they're obviously losing the race. That's actually going to be a draw, because after queen e8 check, they can play king f5, and the knight's coming back to stop any attempt to win the queen. So after f3, white's got knight c4, where the white knight's going to deal with the black f pawn, and the black knight and king can't deal with the white a pawn. Black's got one last try, which is knight f6. I could see that working at club level, knight f6, and just carelessly push the a pawn. Watch out for the deflecting knight sacrifice, and black can draw that. Both sides are going to get a queen now. Although you've got to defend queen and knight versus queen, which is a theoretical draw. Apparently it's quite an easy one to draw that I've never actually got involved in it. Probably happened in one of my games now and I'll lose it. So yeah, don't push the a pawn. Instead, after this knight f6, last gallant try, nice try, but king c6, knight e4, and then you go knight f1. And that's what actually happened in this 1980 game, and then black resigned. Right, next. This is from 1984. It's white to play. Jan Timman was actually white in this position. There's not really any... well, you could pause the video and have a go at it, but I mean, it's difficult to think of this as a pause the video moment, because white's just smashing this. You can't really find a move where you're not still winning. I mean, for example, I'm looking at 5 different engine lines, and the worst one for white is still plus 3.6. So yeah, this is just a winning position for white. But I mean, that doesn't stop there being ways to mess it up with natural looking moves. So for example, I mean, we want to push this G pawn, but the black knight is stopping it. So we want to shift this knight. So a very natural move is knight f5. But then black plays knight g2. And white's still winning this. Yeah, it's just in case you care. I mean, knight e7 check, you do something different and you win. But there's a lot of play left to sort out. Let's just go through the problem with the more natural, the way you want to finish it quickly. G6 throws away the win completely, because your pawn's gone now. The black knight will just take it. I mean, it's threatening to take it there, so you push it, and then it takes it anyway, and then comes in. That's just a draw. So this knight G2 move is annoying, because the black knight's coming to F4. If you think of the brilliant piece, knight deflecting sacrifice, knight e3 check, it doesn't actually do very much, because the black can play king d6, clear the d5 square for the knight, and then come in and permanently guard g8. And white has to be a bit careful not to throw that away, actually. So yeah, don't queen straight away, for example. You need to sort of keep this knight here, doing its guarding job. So Timman had to think about all this. I mean, knight f5 is what he wanted to play, but he played a4. And I mean, it's just such a brilliant move, because it's such a simple way from a human being point of view to convert this. This black knight has to stay here for now because it's stopping g6. And we've still got this knight f5 plan in our pocket. But the crucial difference is that we want to make the black king move. And now, I mean, black tried one final pawn push, but Timman just played a5. And now the black king has to move, because if the knight moves, we're going to play g6. So the king has to move. d4 or d6, knight f5 check wins the game immediately. e4 can't be played, so the only other move is king c4. But then you go for the knight f5, knight g2, annoying knight, pesky knight, and king e5. You just cover the f4 square with your king. h4's covered, e3's covered. This knight cannot get in the game, and the g-pawn just promotes. So I guess it's kind of shouldering Zugzwang as well. Zugzwang's pretty common in knight endgames, quite often because knights can't triangulate. But yeah, black's just forced to move in that position and doesn't want to. Yeah, and sure, there's lots of different winning moves in the original position, but we want something simple, don't we, to convert our games. We've got a pass pawn on g5. We want to sort of we want to finish it off. In fact, it's that natural human tendency to finish it off that, well, just maybe to speak for myself, that ends up sort of ballsing things up. In endgames, do not hurry. But just a simple, elegant way to victory. Just make black's king move, and then play your knight f5 and just guard the f4 square, and it's just over. I just love that. You look at this, how do I finish this off? In 4 moves later, black's resigned. It's like, well, that's pretty good. Finally, this one. This is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This is a study from 1949. Pause the video and have a go at it. What would you do here as white? White to play and win, obviously. So the most natural move, you would think, is just to come and approach the black knight. I mean, this knight's already stopping the black knight getting back into the game over here. We've now stopped knight g6 with our last move. And if knight h7, then king g6 looks pretty good. we attack the knight, it would have to go back to f8, and then king g7 would win it. So black's not going to be moving their knight anytime soon. So king f5, I think that's a great move. You know, and sure enough, if black plays king b8, we approach the black knight. Black keeps coming in with their king. We attack the knight. The knight's out of squares. I mean, all they've got is knight d7 check. Takes, takes, king f7, the end. So, king f5, winning move. You know, it's fairly simple. Well, unfortunately not, because black doesn't play king b8. Black plays king a7, which was their only other move, to be honest. If they can't move their knight, they can't go to b7. And you think, what's so good about this? I'll approach the knight, but then black attacks your knight. And you want to play the brilliant deflecting knight sacrifice, knight d7 check. But when black takes that, it's with check. And then he just takes the pawn. Next go to guarantee the draw. So you can't do that. I mean, what else can you do? If you move your king to attack the knight, then black just takes your knight. I mean, your knight's being attacked. And if you move your knight, you're getting your king and your pawn forked. So, oh, it's a draw. It is a draw, yeah. So you think it's alright, I've got this brilliant knight d7 move. I mean, it doesn't arrive with check, but black's still got to take it. And then I push the e-pawn. And there's just no way for black to cover these two squares. You sure? Knight b6? Yeah, knight b6, a load of rubbish. Just play e7. Oh, I see now. Check. Picks up whatever promotes on e8. And you have to promote, because black's going to play knight takes e7 if you don't. How about that? So you do approach the knight, and you approach it with king g5. You're thinking, yeah, sneaky, king g5, because now, when the knight comes in here, it's not a check. That's why you play king g5. Clever. And let's just go through it. Okay, if king b8, approach the knight, it's gone. Okay, same as before. By the way, actually, in this position here, king f6, black's got this king c7 move. You just play knight e6 check. Okay. But black doesn't play king b8. Black plays king a7. Now we know that king f6 is a draw. We've been through that. King b6. Okay. So you think, it's clever, isn't it? Because the thing I just talked about with the this time we play knight d7 because the king not being on f5. It's no good. Like, what? I just pushed the e-pawn. You can't do the same thing as before. I know. I'm not going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to attack your e-pawn. With your king on g5, I can check you there. And now I'm coming to d6. And that knight can actually look after a central pawn by itself. It doesn't even need the help of its king. So that's just a draw. And you're like, what do? I want to approach that knight. I want to play my king forward towards that knight, so that because we know that king b8 is a win for white. King f5 is no good. I can't do my clever knight d7 thing. King g5 is no good because I can't do my clever knight d7 thing. So hang on a sec. That's not why we played king g5. King g5 is not to avoid the f5 square to stop sneakery with the black knight and forks. It just walks into a different sneakery with the black knight and forks. That's not why we played king g5. We played king g5 so that when black plays king a7, then we play king f5. It's a zugzwang thing again. Knights don't triangulate. There's like always an odd even thing going on with knights. And black's stuffed. Black's absolutely stuffed. They can't move their knight anywhere, as discussed. They've got to move their king. And where to? They've only got 3 legal squares. King back to a8 is obviously a load of rubbish because we can just come in and attack the knight. So the only sensible thing to do, really, I mean, king b8, there's different ways to win it as white, but we could use the same move as king b6. The most sensible thing to do is king b6. And then we play our knight d7 check. And the crucial difference is because we've lost a move, we haven't had to rush into f6 too early with our king, which means that the knight doesn't fall with check. Okay. By the way, if black had played king b8, there's other ways to win it, but that also wins for the same reason. I mean, black would still have to take that, and so it's going to transpose. You'd still get this position. Well, I suppose you'd have the black king on b8, but it makes no difference. You still just push the e-pawn. And this time there is no way for the black knight to do anything. I mean, this is the maximum distance between knight and king. It's going to take the black knight 3 moves just to get a check. So a quick scan around the board. Are there any squares where a check would be of any use to us whatsoever? Because we want to cover the e8 square, but the white king would just take you. We certainly can't cover e7. So you think, well, d6 is a good try, isn't it? Because at least I can fork those two. Same as one of the other lines. So let's head for the d6 square. Knight c5, e7, knight b7, and you just move the king. I mean, king e5 is fine. King e5 looks the most sensible, to be honest, but even king e6 as well, even though it walks into a couple more checks, is also a win. So yeah, absolutely brilliant, that one. You have to approach the knight to win it, but you can't approach via the f5 square. You have to approach via the g5 square, not because the f5 square is a particularly, is a square that you want to avoid knight checks on any more than g5. There's sort of no difference in the quality of the squares particularly. It's just that when black plays king a7, then you play king f5. You wanted your king on f5, but not straight away. Anyway, that's the last of 6, what I would call brilliant knight endgames. I hope you enjoyed them.